DreamWorks doesn't just make great animated movies. They mess with your head, from surprise villains to emotional gut punches. Their plot twists hit hard, but how do they pull it off every time? What secret sauce are they using that other studios miss? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to twist a story like DreamWorks, starting with a movie that broke the rules before it even had a story. Shrek is one of those franchises that flips our favorite fairy tales on their heads. It's a genius idea because it gives the writers tons of existing stories and characters to mess around with.
Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away.
But there's a catch. When you use characters people already know, like the big bad wolf or a witch, it's tough to surprise the audience. The moment they show up, everyone just assumes, oh, they're the villain.
What?
To keep things from getting too predictable, the writers brought in original characters like Lord Farquaad in the first movie. But in the sequel, they took it up a notch. This time, they hid the villains in plain sight, disguised as characters you'd never expect to be the bad guys. See, when a character's looks don't match their true intentions, you've got the recipe for a masked twist, one of the oldest tricks in the storytelling playbook. So how does Shrek 2 pull this off? Well, it all starts with Shrek and Fiona hitting a rough patch in their marriage.
Will you stop it? They're not like that.
So when a fairy godmother shows up, we see her as a sign of hope, an ally that could help Fiona fix things.
Who are you?
Oh, sweet pea. I'm your fairy godmother.
Even though she gets brushed off pretty quickly when we first meet her, it doesn't feel like a big deal. After all, we've still got a whole hour of movie left for her to come back and help our favorite couple.
Look, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I need to go anyway.
But the very next time we see her, we learn her real intentions and who the real villain of this movie is.
You better get in. We need to talk.
And you'll never believe who's also in on this elaborate scheme to separate Shrek and Fiona.
You remember my son, Prince Charming?
A major reason why this twist holds so much weight and doesn't feel forced is because in the very first scene of the movie, we meet a character who has a score to settle.
Honeymoon? With who?
So when we meet the fairy godmother and learn that she's Prince Charming's mother,
Mummy can handle this.
It makes perfect sense why she wants to wreck Fiona and Shrek's marriage. Shrek 2 is a movie where unoriginal characters don't play their stereotypical roles, such as the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood serving as comedic relief.
Princess
Fiona?
No!
Oh, thank heavens.
Sometimes even the so-called good guys turn out to be the villains, but just flipping the roles isn't enough to make a plot twist land. For the twist in Shrek 2 to really work, Prince Charming and the fairy godmother had to play it smart. They had to keep their plan under wraps. So while they're secretly scheming behind the scenes, they put on a friendly face for everyone else. We only start to see their true colors, the manipulative, power-hungry side, when no one else is around. If you're writing a story where the villain needs to seem like a friend or ally, this is the playbook to follow. It's especially effective in plots where betrayal plays a major role, because nothing hits harder than realizing the good guy was the enemy all along. But if this twist deceives you, the next one is supposed to disappoint you beyond reason. Except DreamWorks does it so well, it actually makes so much sense at the end of the day. Kung Fu Panda is one of DreamWorks' most successful franchises.
Never before had a panda been so feared and so loved.
Any movie about Kung Fu is sure to be a fan favorite. Add talking animals with personal struggles, and you have a cult classic.
I'm the big fat panda.
But this is a movie where we see karate kicks every 5 minutes. And half of the dialogue sounds like a quote from the book Art of War.
Today is a gift. That is why it is called a present.
Everything is so intense and fast-paced that the comedic relief is the only time the audience can catch a break.
My fist hungers for justice. That was my fist.
But the writers pulled off a twist in Kung Fu Panda that's totally unconventional, and it works beautifully. They turn their own setup on its head. And the way this works is that for most of the movie, we're led to believe that greatness comes from unlocking some deep hidden secret. 2/3 of the story builds up that idea like it's the ultimate truth.
But who? Who is worthy to be trusted with the secret to limitless power?
But here's the funny thing. That secret simply doesn't exist.
It's blank.
What?
The thing everyone was chasing, the secret to ultimate power, it was actually inside all along.
It's just you.
We had our expectations raised for well over an hour, and the audience shares the same reaction Shifu had to a blank scroll.
Blank. I don't understand.
At first look, this seems like a lazy way to write a movie and a flimsy excuse to have an anticlimactic conclusion. However, this twist doesn't feel cringeworthy, it doesn't feel shallow, but it employs a simple logic. If you're going to subvert expectations, you've got to earn them first. And Kung Fu Panda starts doing that from the very first scene.
Master Uguay's choosing the Dragon Warrior today!
Throughout the movie, we're made to believe that being the Dragon Warrior is a very big deal.
Knew I was the Dragon Warrior!
So much of a big deal that when an untrained panda gets chosen, the Furious Five and Master Shifu don't take it well.
You don't belong here.
Yeah, of course.
But when you make a point, why stop there? If you want the audience to really grasp the importance of something, then reiterate it over and over. That's what Tai Lung's backstory and motive do.
Who filled my head with dreams? Who drove me to train until my bones cracked?
But it's not just through shock value that this is achieved. The idea of the supposed secret ingredient also gets mentioned in more subtle ways.
You are almost ready to be entrusted with a secret ingredient.
Although noodle making and kung fu are not the same thing, they share similarities in the importance of tradition and craftsmanship.
The secret ingredient is nothing.
These parts, however, are easy to overlook when we know we're about to see a showdown of immense proportions.
You want it? Come get it.
It wasn't a boring action showdown. The twist just didn't feel as big as we thought it would. The moment the twist drops, the movie immediately knocks those high expectations right out of the park in the very next scene.
It's nothing!
This is confirmation that although we didn't get any super big reveal, we definitely should not be expecting one. But that's not the only reason that this twist works. The story isn't the only thing that changes. The characters do so as well. This twist is contextually subpar by design, so you can't let its effect or the things it causes be equally unexciting. Po found out that there was no secret ingredient, and he stopped being the scared, insecure, and doubtful panda we met halfway through the movie.
You have brought peace to this valley.
Yeah, expectations got sky high, and sure, the payoff wasn't the big explosive finale you might have been hoping for. But the twist still delivered something valuable, a meaningful revelation that wrapped up the characters' journeys in a way that actually made sense.
Tigress.
The key to being the Dragon Warrior was to believe that you can in the first place. If you still needed an object of fascination after all the training and hard work, then it would all have been for nothing.
The power of the Dragon Scroll is mine!
This twist shows that intrigue often leaves people misguided. Hence, the best way to have an audience align their focus on what matters is by lowering their high expectations with an underwhelming twist. Also, remember that this only works if the revelation is subtle but powerful and reflects in the characters. That said, after successfully pulling the raised expectation twist, DreamWorks knew they had to take it a step further with the Kung Fu Panda sequel. And guess what they came up with? Extra. That's really the best way to describe Kung Fu Panda 2. Extra kung fu.
A warrior of black and white.
An extra villain.
The only reason you're still alive is that I find your stupidity mildly amusing.
Extra spectacles.
At his feet.
To make it even better, we got extra lore and world building. For the first time, the franchise takes us out of the valley where most of the first movie happened.
Are you familiar with the master of Gongmen City?
We also get a hint as to why Po is the only panda in this franchise by the second movie.
Actually, you came from this.
We knew Shen's nature and his intentions.
With the weapon by my side, all China will bow before me.
But as far as genocidal tendencies go, all we've got are hints and signs that he's capable of it.
The young lord set out to change his fate.
They tease it so much that by a certain point, you just know something's coming. But it gets so obvious that you start doubting yourself. The twist doesn't hit all at once. Instead, it sneaks up on you during Shen and Po's final showdown, when Shen finally spills the truth about what he did.
I took away your parents. Everything.
This makes us feel empathy for Po and happy that Shen has met his demise. But this isn't just a mere murder reveal. It gives Po, the protagonist, a missing piece of himself that he's been looking for since the beginning of the movie.
Where did I come from?
In the first movie, nobody really questions that Po's dad isn't even a mammal. So when this new twist drops, it actually gets us thinking about that weird detail we'd never noticed before. Then, when we find out Po's new villain is someone from his past, it hits us. Did Shen really do what we're starting to suspect?
The peacock was there the last time I saw my parents.
This buildup keeps the audience on edge right up until the twist finally drops. Unlike most twists where the shock hits after the reveal, this one works by building tension through curiosity before the big moment, and then gives the tension a satisfying release afterward. The extra twist reveals just how pronounced a character's core traits are. You can't suddenly make a benevolent character evil or apathetic, but more of what we already know that character to be. We see this in Shen. By the end of the twist, we get to know just exactly the extent he's willing to go because of his evil and selfish ambitions. And what made it more shivering was the fact that we weren't trying to know what he was going to do, but if it was really him who committed some past atrocities. So, to make the extra twist reveal work, a good amount of a character's backstory and past needs to be a mystery to the audience. The extra twist reveals character depth as well as drives the plot. It's not for a story or movie where you have characters having a change of heart. And remember, if your characters haven't really grown past where they started, or if they're not stubbornly holding on to their beliefs, this twist probably won't work. That said, there is a way to pull off a plot twist in a story where the character's beliefs and ideals keep shifting. But the real question is, are you ready to give up a big part of traditional storytelling to make it happen? Are you cool with telling the story from the perspective of a character type that usually gets pushed to the sidelines? This next type of twist answers all these questions. Those were the questions the writers of Megamind had to ponder when they were putting this movie together. Megamind is one of the few movies where the evil character is the main character. So whether he's a protagonist or an antagonist depends on how you view him. In the course of the movie, he ends up saving the day, but the concept of repentant supervillains is as old as comic books. We could see that happening the moment he started missing Metro Man.
But without him, what's the point?
However, when he did get the chance to meet his beloved nemesis, he was more confused than happy.
You're alive?
You're alive.
I'm alive.
I mean, if you see someone you think should be dead, you'd be more worried than relieved too. What follows after the encounter is one of the most well-crafted twists in animated movie history.
You both deserve the truth.
Metro Man doesn't tell us a different story. He gives us an account of events we just watched half an hour ago. But for the first time, we're seeing things from his perspective. To the world, Metro Man died that day. To him, he got a ticket to an early retirement.
That's when I got the brilliant idea to fake my death.
But can you still say Megamind defeated him if he actually staged his passing? There is a saying that two truths can exist. When that is the case, what we perceive as factual is hinged on one very important factor.
Here's my day so far.
As much as what's being presented and how it's being done matters, what's paramount is who. The best way to create bias is by having the whole movie play out in one singular perspective. And Megamind is a story told by, you guessed it, no one else but Megamind.
Here's my day so far.
So when we saw Metro Man's demise, we had no reason to believe that he was still alive.
All I did was eliminate the most powerful man in the universe.
First off, from the main character's point of view, this is what happened. Megamind actually beat his nemesis, and pretty soon, the world started adjusting to life without Metro Man.
We never really know how good we have it until it's gone.
Nothing says the end better than people moving on, and we see Megamind do this when he tries to create a hero out of Titan because he can't live without a nemesis.
I have someone to fight!
The only person who knew Metro Man never met an ugly end was Metro Man himself. That's if you want to exclude the writers of this movie. Otherwise, we all fell for it. And even when it's revealed that Metro Man didn't actually die, it's hard to make sense of things.
Are you a ghost?
There had better be an amazing explanation for this.
Until he tells us why.
My head wasn't in the game that day.
It's easy to throw in something controversial and call it a fresh perspective. However, if you don't treat it like its own story, all you're doing is confusing the audience. Metro Man's fake death shocks us, but it doesn't really surprise us. Why? Because we understand why he did it.
No one said this hero thing had to be a lifetime gig. You can't just quit either.
Nevertheless, giving it a reason isn't enough. The things that lead up to Metro Man deciding to fake his death aren't things we don't know. It's just that we never got to see them from his perspective until the twist happened.
That's when I got the brilliant idea to fake my death.
The twist shocked us, but knowing its context lets us understand that it was bound to happen. The catalyst of the twist must be revealed only after the "it" takes place. But it's not just about what the story does after the important twist. It's about what it does before it. Having Metro Man in a cheerful spirit every time we saw him was important.
Metro Man! Who's your man?
If the audience had seen any signs of depression, the twist would have been way too easy to guess. And that's exactly why it works. We don't see it coming. It totally catches us off guard.
Metro Man! Who's your man?
But once we take a step back and look at it from a different angle, it actually makes perfect sense. If you want to hide the truth from the audience, tell the story through a narrow lens, one that keeps us biased and doesn't leave much room for second guessing. Great stories can still thrive with that setup. But if you really want to hit us with a twist, flip the perspective fast and show us the exact opposite of what we've been led to believe. That's how you deliver a twist that truly stuns. Nevertheless, this kind of twist falls flat when there are too many characters to keep the story tightly focused. So, is there another way to reveal the truth with a twist? And what does it take to pull it off just right? How to Train Your Dragon is a franchise that started with trying to break stereotypes.
Believe me, I tried as well, but people are not capable of change, Hiccup.
By the end of the first movie, it was proven that dragons weren't monstrous creatures and they could peacefully coexist with humans. In the sequel, Hiccup is trying to spread that ideology beyond Burke.
If I could change your mind, I can change his too.
However, dragons being monsters aren't the only long-standing truths that got debunked. It turns out that Hiccup and Burke weren't the only people who had been coexisting with dragons.
Don't think Drago has one of those in his dragon army.
But that wasn't the real twist. The shocker? Someone incredibly close to both Hiccup and Stoic wasn't actually dead after all.
Could it be?
This meant that what the father and son duo believed for 20 years was nothing but a lie.
After all these years, how's this possible?
Hiccup's mom was taken by a dragon, and while Stoic never actually saw her die, no one really expects someone snatched by a dragon to survive more than a day. But here's the real shocker. Valka isn't just alive, she's been living with dragons for years, long before the events of the first movie.
Oh, Cloudjumper never meant to harm me. He must have thought I belonged here.
That alone is a huge twist, but it only works because of the reveal that she's actually alive. Before Hiccup set out to find Drago, you could have told him, Stoic, or anyone in Burke, that Valka was alive and living with dragons, and they would have thought you were out of your mind.
You're my mother? I mean, what the? Do you grasp how insane it sounds?
But before you can pull off a great plot twist like this, the audience has to believe the thing you're about to flip on its head. How to Train Your Dragon 2 nails this setup. We don't even see the flashback of Valka's abduction until after we find out she's alive. And leading up to that, the few times she's mentioned, it's always like she's a distant memory, someone long gone, part of the past.
They said you were dead!
When a character is spoken about in such a way, it subconsciously tells the audience that said character is permanently gone. And their absence is so canon that bringing them back is nearly impossible. This setup works so well that when we see a new character, Valka is the last person we think of. We believe she's dead even without seeing it happen, but getting the audience to believe a lie is only half the twist. The real magic is in unraveling that so-called truth. It's not enough to just bring Valka back. The story goes a step further. It shows us why everyone believed she was gone in the first place. And it also went further to tell us why she never returned to Stoic and Hiccup.
It broke my heart to stay away, but I believed it'd be safer if I did.
Without the added context, the believable lie twist would come off as lazy and low effort. Proving that a long-held truth is a lie isn't impossible, but there are a lot of things you need to do to get it right. You have to make the audience believe the lie, and when you expose it, still give context for why the lie stood for such a long time. When you achieve that, trust me, you'll have the audience on the edge of tears. There's nothing better than a well-crafted plot twist. Nothing, except of course a well-written twist villain. Wondering how to reveal a twist villain? Then click this video right here.